The mission of how I started podcasting and started Special Chronicles is giving respect and voice to those of us with special needs. I became an athlete leader of Special Olympics Illinois, and when I recorded the audio of the speeches that I was given and putting those up as podcasts, I soon received messages of encouragement, and I learned that it was a powerful platform and really helping to make a difference in people's lives. 12 years ago, I didn't expect that anybody would want to even listen to me. We have over 42,316 listeners per month. It's a humbling experience. I'm really grateful to make a difference in other people's lives. My mentor and Special Olympics Illinois Chief Marketing Officer Chris Winston stops by the podcast to talk all about the new virtual programming and virtual sports at Special Olympics Illinois is coming up right now on SpecialChronicles.com.
This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
Podcasting since 2008. This is the show where we're broadcasting disability stories from an insider's perspective, and we are giving a voice to people with special needs. This is your weekly guide to find and enjoy acceptance and inclusion.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel. I lend my voice to those who can't. It's time we tried, it's time we cared, it's time we stand. It starts with a voice.
Welcome back to the Special Chronicles Show. My name is Daniel, founder of Special Chronicles and a Southern Shriver International Global Messenger with Special Olympics and an athlete leader here in Special Olympics Illinois. And so excited as we have a returning guest, not in studio, but virtually a returning guest. It is my SSIGM mentor, and hold on, I'm going to turn that off a little bit because, yeah, the lighting was blending in with the background, so we're gonna try to make it a little bit easier. Anyways, we'll for all what is usually our weekly catch-up call, but we're doing this on a podcast this week to talk all about the new virtual sports and virtual programming. So please put your hands together as we welcome my mentor and Chief Marketing Officer for Special Olympics Illinois, Chris Winston. And we didn't plan this, but we're wearing the same top, same Kodo zip top. So welcome back to the Special Chronicles Show, Chris.
Thanks, Daniel. Thank you. Yes, we have the same top on. I think when you work long enough for Special Olympics or you compete long enough as an athlete like yourself, my wife and I, Grace, we tease because I think I've got my closet of clothes, then I've got my whole other separate closet of Special Olympics and torch run gear.
Yeah, I know. It's yeah. We've got like a whole closet, and then we've got a whole separate closet. So depending on which event we're going to, or like when we go to Kazan, Russia next year, and then in a couple years to Berlin, will probably mostly be taken from the Special Olympics closet of.
Yes, it was very nice of Special Olympics International to give us these.
Yeah.
I'm backwards. Sargent Shriver International Global Messenger.
Yeah.
I'm so honored to be your mentor, Daniel. When I see that intro video, I get a little emotional. I'm so proud to know you, and I'm proud that you make me a part of your life. I very appreciate you very much.
Thanks. Well, I appreciate you as well, and all the work that you do to support me, not only when we are traveling the globe, but also also in a home state as well. So with
I liken it to being the manager of a rock and roll band. I got to keep you moving. That's all I do. Come on, Daniel, keep up. We're at the airport. I got to check your bags.
Yeah,
check you into the hotel. Make sure you get to bed on time.
Carry my bags.
I feel like a manager of a rock band.
Yeah, carry my bags, or like when we will rush in to get a taxi, or I'll post no. What do you call those that we will like? Not the taxis that we were riding in Abu Dhabi, but like those honored guests.
Yeah, those are cool. I can't remember what they call them, but
I feel like it was like it felt like a private SUV car service. So
I'm appreciative of that. It's like as employees, I know this isn't the purpose of our discussion, but as employees of Special Olympics, whether it's international or Illinois or any other chapter, I can't tell you how many times we get into conversations about the things that we get a chance to do because of you and the athletes. Is amazing. I mean, I would never go to Abu Dhabi, and I'm so grateful to do it. And that happened because of you. I mean, and that's the things that I'm able to do are really, really cool. And I not only say that for myself, but I would say that for the tens of thousands of employees around the world.
Absolutely. I am just updating your name there. I think I got that right. If I got it wrong.
Who's he? No, I'm teasing.
Oh, no. With your Twitter handle on there. So if people want to live tweet doing this when they're listening to this or watching this, you guys can just look on our titles there.
Yes, follow.
Yeah, follow us. Yeah, go follow us, and we'll get to all those the rest of those plugs at the end of the episode. But why don't we go ahead and get the main topic of this episode this came about because of last week's catch-up call that we had. That I'm glad that now we'll having these weekly catch-up calls. But this something that you brought up about virtual sports, and I know I haven't been able to go back to swimming and basketball, and I haven't been able to start unified golf with Steven from our foundation board. But so I'm looking forward to that. But in the meantime, as 2021 is looking to be similar to 2020 last year, where we still have all these virtual programs, and I think you were telling me this off air, but now we'll share it on air now. That last year we were kind of thrown into all this virtual Zoom and virtual programming. Just it came on all of a sudden, probably exactly a year ago was when the world shut down. I know I just won 2 gold medals, and then the next couple of weeks after winning, like really being at a peak in competition, then the world shut down. And so with that, because we were thrown in, all this virtual programming was kind of all over the place on our social media channels and website, but now that we kind of have it under control, and now that it's staying around, it's a little bit more focused to this year. You want to maybe kind of just give some context and backstory of kind of how this virtual programming came to be.
How it evolved. Okay. Yeah, you're right, Daniel. I was just looking at my other monitor and the date. So a little bit, it's history. It's like March 3rd. You're right. On March 3rd, Tuesday, March 3rd, we made the decision to cancel our state basketball championships, which were that coming weekend. And as you know, you play basketball.
Yeah.
As our, I think second largest, summer games clearly our largest and second largest competition that takes place. So we had to cancel that like 4 days in advance, and it wasn't received real well because, not people were obviously clinically smart about it, but they were upset because they wanted to compete. And, that's what we do for a living. Our job is any employee for Special Olympics, any program or international, our job is to do for the athletes. That's all we do. So we were extremely disappointed as well. It was interesting, though, that like within 2 days, not that we had this amazing foresight, but we talk about this on the Tuesday the 3rd, we canceled state basketball championships. Literally within 2 days, by Thursday, NBA canceled and said we're going to regroup, and then obviously they came back out later. Major League Baseball pushed back the start of the beginning of the season. The NCAA basketball canceled. They canceled all spring sports. High school did that. So it was like in 48 to 72 hours, it was just like boom, boom, boom. So we canceled on Tuesday, and by Friday, NBA done. And then obviously they came back later. Major League Baseball pushed back. College men's and women's spring sports canceled. It was like crazy. So then I think about a week, we didn't have a real big competition for a while. And then it's on the week of, I would say, right around the 14th and 15th of March, that weekend. It was literally like myself, Carolyn Cronin, who does our healthy initiatives, Alex McMillan and Michelle Mayer and Gina Fasolo. Literally, we all just like almost freakishly had this epiphany kind of at the same time. And I remember texting all of them saying, what we should do? We should probably, I think what had happened too is I'd seen the WWE School of Strength, and, I saw videos, and then I started messing around. I'm like, there's a lot of really cool video content on how athletes can, stay in shape. So reached out to Carolyn and Alex, Gina, and Michelle, and said, hey, why don't we, starting Monday, why don't we on a daily basis push out a daily workout video, 7 a.m. every morning. And then I went on and I literally just found everything I could. Most of it was WWE School of Strength. Then we found some little things here and there. And over the weekend, and by Monday morning, we hit the ground running. We had something at 7 a.m. every day, a video going on every day, Monday through Friday. And then we added, workouts with Dave and Tribute Park. Then we added, we got celebrity. This is separate of health, but it's virtual programming. We got celebrities like Joe Mantegna and local news celebrities to read children's books. So we did a young athlete book reading session at 11 a.m. I think it was on Tuesdays or Thursdays. So what really ended up happening was it wasn't a full-on TV guide, but it was almost like a TV guide. We created this social media channel that people could go to the website. They could see basically what we did. We kept it easy at 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. every day. Something went out. And it was like torture and trivia, cooking shows, workouts with Dave, WWE School of Strength, book readings. We did Unified Champion School, Facebook Live. So we did a number of things until probably the first week of July, because after that happened, in June, we announced that, the agencies could get back to work. So like with yourself, with CSPAR, if you remember, they said, okay, starting July 6th, that we're going to start training and get together and practicing, and, we'll do stuff over the summer. So we kept it moving until then. And then everyone got outside and the agency started training, and then everyone was able to get outside and run with it. And then back in the spring, I think we all felt like, hey, we'll just do this and get through the spring, get to the summer. Everyone will start getting active, and then it'll be fine it'll be fine in the fall, right? Well, everything, we were all wrong on that one. And then, the governor of our state, as well as a lot of other states, in mid-November shut down the state again, much like they did in the spring. So we had a different feel about it. And I think it wasn't just Special Olympics. As I talked to people who worked in government or for a for-profit company, be it whatever, we were not only really cognizant of the mental and physical, not only physical, but mental well-being of not only our employees, but in the case of us, our athletes, in the case of a for-profit company, their employees and their customers, and whoever that might be. Everyone was kind of getting in that mindset. And we're like, last time when COVID came out, we were coming out of a winter, and we were like, let's keep our athletes busy until it gets warm, and then that'll take care of itself. This year, we're going into a 5-month cold spell, and boy, what was it cold, right? I mean, we have sub-zero temperatures and 30 inches of snow in 3 weeks. So it was really, really important. But what we said to ourselves, and this is where I'm going, right? This is where we are now. We all said, you know what? And we heard this from parents. So like, what you guys did in the spring was great. You guys surfaced so much video content that we could utilize to keep my son or daughter active and busy. However, now that it's November, we've seen 7 months of that. We can get that anywhere. Where before you guys were fresh and new with it, now everyone's doing. I can Google, online workouts, and I can get 100 videos, whether it's from you or somebody else.
Yeah.
So they were saying they were really like, it needs to go to another level. So we kind of looked at it as virtual programming 2.0, where not only did we need to provide the video for them to work out, and they may or may not work out, the athletes yourself, but we needed to do something to make them work out. So in that case, sometimes it was workouts live, Facebook Live or on Twitch or on Zoom, where we worked out with them. It wasn't just give the video, hey, work out when you can. It's like Unified Champion Schools at 3:30 on Mondays, they work out live with some of our employees. And then on Twitch and on Facebook and whatnot. So that was important. Also, which we'll get into, we have virtual sports, which I know we're going to get into the details in a little bit. But that was not so much working out live, but it was, here's the sport, and you got to report back what you've done. So for you to report back, you've actually got to do it. So that was the virtual, sports part of it. And other parts that came out of this were virtual was esports. Yeah. So we do Rocket League and Fortnite, and Special Olympics Washington was good enough to invite us into one of their competitions. And we've done a really great job with getting athletes. Not only are they getting on, but they're able to play e-game unified with their peers. The other thing we have as well is virtual learning. So what came out of this, Daniel, and I'll make my point here, is virtual was big. We did our duck derby virtual, we did our gala virtual, we did videos virtual. It's like, so now we had esports, we had virtual sports, which I know I'm going to get in the details in a little bit, probably down the line. And then we had virtual learning, which so we had all these three things going. And then from a marketing standpoint, we're like, this is all great stuff, but we don't want to overwhelm people by throwing three things at them at once. So we created this platform called virtual programming. And under that, I know we're going to show people where to find that. Under that is esports, virtual sports, as well as virtual learning. And then, in the June, when we get into our virtual summer games, that'll fall under that as well. So what we do is every Monday morning at 10 o'clock, we push out a video that says, it's kind of like the Monday morning announcement, like in school. And it said, this is what's going on this week. A little bit's virtual learning, a little bit's virtual sports, a little bit's esports. But what we do is we drive everybody to virtual programming. So all boats are rising with the tide. So what we're really doing is looking at the best of what's happening this week under those platforms. And we put it into one video, and then we post out to the week, and we push everybody to virtual programming to take a look. So they might go to virtual programming to look at what the virtual sport is of the month, but then they see, what's virtual learning? Click on that, take a look. Esports. There's a Rocket League competition coming up this Thursday. I'm going to be a part of that. So, that's where it kind of all came together. A lot of virtual, as you would imagine, not only with Special Olympics Illinois, but a lot of organizations went virtual, and so did we. And it caught fire, but we got to harness this and put it under one platform.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely get into a little bit more details. So if you're listening or watching this episode right now, keep listening. I want to briefly, before we move on to the next segment, and usually I type up all the show notes, but today it's written in my World Games that we got at the media reception. Yep. And so I want to touch on briefly two things that you mentioned. And the first is the School of Strength and Fit 5. A little bit more emphasis on the School of Strength, because I know that a year ago also I think so I released that a few months before they originally planned. because of everything going virtual all of a sudden. So with that, and I think, and you probably covered this a little bit, but like I know, like with the School of Strength, like with the workouts with Dave and some of that, have we incorporated? I mean, briefly touch on like how have we incorporated the School of Strength and even the Fit 5 as well? How have we incorporated those two? In particular, the School of Strength, because that's more an at-home fitness program. How have we incorporated that into all of this virtual programming?
So what we did again with we did that social media guide again back in the fall, and that was spring, and that was kind of like we said, it was like a TV guide. So the WWE School of Strength was part of the 7 a.m. workouts, and then we went into Fit 5 after that, and then we had some of our own after that. So we used Fit 5 and WWE School of Strength right away, and that was again one of Carolyn's thinking on doing that. So we used it a lot in the beginning. If people go, and I don't want to get too in the weeds, but if they go to our soill.org, our website, and if they look for, you go to Off the Field, and then you'll find health programming. This is separate where we're going.
Yeah.
You click on that, you'll see a link down there for healthy and fit tips. You click on that, and there's a whole list of things that we initially did that's still there. Healthy fit tips.
Yes.
They click on that. It's got all that stuff. It's got about 30 different. It's got the WWE School of Strength. It's got the Fit 5 guide, the Fit 5 fitness cards, and what you talked about with Fit 5, like what they had done was they broke it out into levels depending on what your physical abilities are. We're all different, clearly. So they've got endurance, flexibility, and strength, level 1. And then level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5, which is, I think, the real hardcore, more of the advanced stuff. So again, it's endurance, how to keep your body like running and whatnot, flexibility, stretching, and then strength. How strong are you? And they broke it out into 5 different levels. But you can go on our website and find that. You can also go on Special Olympics, but make it easy. Go to soill.org. Anybody all over the globe can go to that. And go to Off the Field, which is up in the top nav bar. Click on Healthy Programming, and then you'll find Healthy Fit Tips, and click on that, and then you can mess around. There's like 30 different things in there they could check out.
Awesome. And with that, when they're going to check that out, I want to, and this brings it up to the next thing that I want to briefly kind of comment on off of what you said. A year ago, along with Carolyn, all those links that you mentioned are also linked on specialchronicles.com/health as well. So School of Strength, Fit 5, and a bunch of other like cooking videos from Hannah's Cooking Health with Hannah video, and Renee's and her friends in Hawaii. I'm blanking on what it's called. It's linked on it's linked on specialchronicles.com/health. But with Carolyn from all staff, we did a 5-pout. Well, pout 0. If you include pout 0, it's more a 6 pout. Because pout 0 is more just about an introduction to COVID, and then we went into fitness, hydration, healthy food, young athletes, and so it was a 6-pout health series, and then the latest 3 episodes of that series is with Dr. Alicia Bassano, Chief Health Officer, and then Renee, Hannah, and me, and then part 3 of that All Things Health is the 3 of us, along with Dr. Alicia, and so people get I'm not good at math, but if you do the math, it's what, 6 plus 3, so that's what, 9?
There you go.
Maybe 9. There you go. So 9 episodes, 9 health, and maybe we will this year. Maybe we should do some updated health episodes, because next couple weeks I will be trained as a health messenger here in Illinois, and so So with that, we should mention, if you go to specialchronicles.com/health, or if you just go to specialchronicles.com and click the podcast navigation tab, and then drop down, and you'll see health. It could be under Special Olympics, it could be under health, but it's listed under the podcast tab. And so if people want to hear that. But with that, let's move on. And because we've got about 6 minutes before we're going to take our first sponsor partner break, because if it wasn't for our partners and supporters, we wouldn't be able to get behind the microphone and keep all the lights on and keep this podcast going. So, but we'll take that break in about 5 minutes. So in that meantime, maybe we'll give a brief overview of the new virtual programming, as you said, and I liked how we've done in 2021. This new virtual programming is virtual programming 2.0. And so with that, maybe give a brief overview, and then we'll in 5 minutes, and then we'll take a 4 minutes, and then we'll take a sponsor break, and then we'll come back and we'll continue that and get into a little bit more details after the break. But maybe just a brief overview of this virtual programming 2.0.
Okay, as you see, I shared my screen. So if you go to soill.org, I know you're going to pop up the actual direct link. This is our website. Anybody can go to it anywhere in the world, clearly. And you scroll down, you'll find virtual programming right here. You click on that. Things are moving a little slowly in the Winston household here, so I apologize. Although the operator's not moving slowly, I'm with it right now. So I'll do a shameless, a little plug since we got time. Renee would be very happy with me, and so would Hannah, but Renee especially, because I'm drinking my pineapple and celery drink. Very healthy, pineapple being from Hawaii. And it's actually, for those who don't know, pineapple and celery, if you do a juicer on it, it actually helps inflammation of your joints. So, and I'm not a celery guy, and the pineapple really cuts it down. So, very tasty.
And it's called what? Is celery, pineapple?
Celery and pineapple, and just put it in the juicer and juice it down, and it helps inflammation of your joints.
Awesome.
I've got a bad back, so it helps sometimes. So here we are. We're in the virtual programming, and then here it is. So this is the Monday morning announcement. This is Clarissa. She's from one of our regions in Illinois. So I'm not going to play it, but if you played that, she would talk. That would go out Monday morning it would go up here on Monday morning. Plus, we put it out socially at 10 a.m. It talks about the different things we're going to be doing this week. On there will be esports. So if there's some esports, click on this. You can find out, if you're a gamer, what's coming up in the next month or so with esports, and you can certainly dial in. Be aware that all times on there are Chicago, which is Central Standard Time. You've got virtual learning. This is what Carolyn Cronin and Karen Milligan have worked on. And everyone's invited to this, by the way. You don't have to be a Special Olympics Illinois athlete. Those athletes from other programs, or even if you've got friends who aren't athletes yet, we do invite them to play. So we do a couple things. Coach's Corner for Special Olympics coaches. They're held on the second and fourth Tuesday of every month. Athlete Lunch and Learns, which are held on the second and fourth Wednesday of every month. Weekend Warrior Workouts, which are held on the first and third Saturday of the month. They're on Saturdays, obviously, 9 a.m., I believe. Then the ETSO Family Forums, they're just held throughout the month. Those can vary. Like we did one, they can be health related. Again, this is virtual programming. So everything's not just health, it's virtual. We did one with Able Act, which is 529 for parents who, it's so much like a Bright Start for you set up for your son or daughter for college. Able Act is for those with disabilities. They can put money away. We did a thing on with the Regional Transportation Authority in Chicago about accessibility for those with disabilities on trains and buses. So it's a myriad of topics, but it's we call it virtual learning because, as you can see, there's a lot of things you can learn. The other one they're all important, but the other one, actually, where I'm going to go to later, we'll have virtual summer games. When that's up and running in June, that'll be housed here as well, and people can participate and see what's going on with virtual summer games. The other one is virtual sports. Virtual sports is really cool because it's for Special Olympics Illinois athletes. It's for athletes who you don't need a Med app to play that, to be a part of this. So you can be a Special Olympics Illinois athlete. You can be a Special Olympics athlete from any program. You don't have to be a Special Olympics athlete. So if you've got friends with intellectual disabilities or whatnot that are not athletes currently, this is a great way to get them involved. So in the month of February, snowshoe and floor hockey were so we deem a sport every month. February was snowshoe and floor hockey, and people can go in and they give you, what'll happen is they'll give you a series of things that you can do throughout the month of February, and then they'll tell you what you need to do, what you need to write down, and what you need to report back. It's not real hard. So March, right now, you could join right now. Even if it's March 9th, you can still be a part of this. March is basketball. So basketball, March Madness. It's a huge month for basketball. I think, everywhere around the world, whoever has a basketball program, they usually play it right now. So that's the sport for March. You can see in April, it's track and field. So it'll be running, walking events, and jumping events. Obviously, track and field picks up for us, as you know, Daniel, in April, May, and June. That's when our spring games are. So spring games, which are our regional events that funnel up to summer games, track and field is huge, right? So running, walking events, and jumping events in April, and then again in May, running, walking, and throwing events in May. So when you join, again, they'll give you the exercises you need to do virtually and then what you need to report back, and then they'll keep track of your results. I'm not going to get too in the weeds in this, but full detail on who is eligible to participate, what do I need before I participate, how it works, registration, a whole bunch of stuff. There is a waiver you need to sign, but you don't have to be a Special Olympics Illinois athlete to do it. This is one of the beautiful things where it's all encompassing of all people. So this is really cool. This is a great way. Illinois has opened up a little bit, so we are doing more of our skills events for 50 or less people. But this is another great way to keep it going. So and then you can see. So this is where they're going to virtual score entries. So based on the month. The traditional basketball skills. So the pass, dribble, shot. And again, when you sign up, you'll get a video explaining all that stuff. This doesn't make sense to anybody looking at it right now, but anywhere you are in the world, you can check it out. And again, if you go to SOILL, well, you've got it right there. Yep, that's the link. That'll take you to this page right here, and then click on virtual sports. And that'll take you can sign up for basketball and then track and field in April and May. And again, for anybody, in Illinois and throughout the world.
And if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts or iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts, this link for the virtual programming will be in the show notes in the description below, as well as on specialchronicles.com. Before we take that quick break, I want to, you mentioned the weekend rodeo. Is that, and you're from Oak Park, just like my girlfriend Georgia is also from Oak Park, who's involved with Opportunity Knocks. And I don't know how familiar you are with Opportunity Knocks. I know it's mostly in Oak Park with River Forest area, but so Georgia's part of the rodeo catering, and I guess they use that rodeo for a lot of the Opportunity Knocks programming. Do you guys kind of take that Royal Weekend from Opportunity Knocks? Not that it's a copyrighted tome to use, but like, did you guys kind of take that from the Opportunity Knocks?
No, we don't. It's Weekend Warriors. It's kind of a common theme. Like Weekend Warrior is that person who goes, can be used for a lot of things. A lot of times it's that person who, packs up their SUV and heads into the woods and, hikes and bikes and, or it's the guy who, works on his house or in this case, it's, the people who, work out. So we did not. No.
Yeah. And there's another comment, but I'm going to save that for after the break. And when we come back after the break, we'll get into we're going to kind of move on. When we say get into details about we're going to move on into brief detail, not full detail. Because again, when you all log on to the virtual programming page, you can get into all of the details that you want on how to get involved. But meanwhile, we're going to go ahead and take a short break, because if it wasn't for our supporters, if it wasn't for our partners at Special Chronicles, we wouldn't be able to get behind these microphones, keep all this Rodecaster Pro plugged in and every lights toned on and everything. And so with that, we'll be back. You are listening to the Special Chronicles Show. Our guest is my mentor and Chief Marketing Officer, Chris Winston, talking all about virtual sports. We'll be back. Don't hit pause, but you can fast forward if you want. I know a lot of times on podcasts, I don't know about you, but I'll fast forward through the sponsor breaks, but we hope you won't, because
who is the sponsor? Let's tell them who it is so they can at least know who it is.
Yes, let's tell them who it is right here on SpecialChronicles.com. Support for Special Chronicles comes from listeners like you. As an independent public media podcast, Special Chronicles will always be there for you. Now we're asking you to be there for us. As a nonprofit independent media organization, we can only make programs like Special Chronicles with listener support. Our programs provide weekly, candid, honest, and inspiring conversations about the people with disabilities community that creates awareness, support, and advocacy within each week's episode. Listeners tell us our shows are an enjoyable and necessary podcast for the intellectual and developmental disability community and everyone else who is able to listen to stories about life from a different angle. Please, if you and your family love our weekly podcast, make a one-time, monthly, or annual gift of thanks today. Support this podcast at specialchronicles.com/give. That's specialchronicles.com/give. Support for Special Chronicles comes from ComEd. Special Chronicles is proud to partner with the ComEd Energy Force Ambassador Program. The Energy Force is the country's first energy efficiency education program designed for and taught by people with disabilities. ComEd is powering lives and really is powering us here at Special Chronicles to keep the lights on and our technology is powered on. As ComEd powers the lives of us, they're literally giving a voice to people with special needs. We thank ComEd for the generous support of our mission at Special Chronicles. Learn more at specialchronicles.com/ComEd. That's specialchronicles.com/ComEd.
Hi, my name is Lisa Noble, and I'm a ComEd Energy Force Ambassador and an athlete with Special Olympics Illinois.
Hi, my name is Daniel Smrokowski, and I also am a ComEd Energy Force Ambassador and founder of a company called Special Chronicles.
The ComEd Energy Force program is a program that hires people with disabilities to teach the public how to save energy and money.
It's the country's first energy efficiency program of its kind.
Saving energy is especially important while everyone is at home due to COVID-19. We're using more electricity than ever before. Just think about how many more times you are opening the refrigerator door these days.
And while the economy is stressed, it's more critical than ever to save money where we can. Following these tips can save energy and money in this time of COVID-19.
Wash your clothes in cold water and use the dryer sparingly.
Your dryer can take up to 7 times more energy than the washer.
Turn off and unplug any electrical devices or power strips you are not using.
Electrical devices can continue to zap power even when turned off if they're still plugged in. We call them vampire devices.
Use LED bulbs.
They use 25% less energy than incandescent bulbs and last up to 25 times longer, saving you lots of money over time.
Keep your refrigerator between 35 and 38 degrees.
And be sure to use Energy Star appliances.
And last but not least, check out PodmanDan.com/home savings for more tips and rebates.
Lisa and I would like to thank you for taking the time to listen to us today.
Remember, we are all in this together.
Stay healthy.
And stay safe.
Bye.
COVID-19, better known as coronavirus, has spread throughout the world. Information about children with this disease is limited, but they are known to have had mild symptoms. Many organizations are responding accordingly depending upon their area. It's home and away from others, especially when sick, and continue following healthy hand wash guidelines, covering mouth and nose and not touching your face or high-touch surfaces. Clean and disinfect high-touch surfaces regularly, and for more information, please visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. Thank you.
We're not just athletes.
We are the ambassadors of an uprising.
Peaceful protesters.
In a rebellion against anyone
who has a fear of difference.
Difference.
Our demands are
equality,
dignity,
and the recognition of our
shared humanity.
We will not stop.
Or accept anything less.
Today, our world is
More divided than ever.
And coming together has never been more urgent.
The revolution
is inclusion. Find out more at jointherevolution.org.
You're listening to the Special Chronicles Show. This is on specialchronicles.com. My name is Daniel, founder of Special Chronicles and a Southern Shriver International Global Messenger with Special Olympics. Our guest is Chris Winston, Chief Marketing Officer for Special Olympics Illinois. Welcome back, Chris.
Thanks, Daniel. Thank you.
And in that first part of the before the break, we gave our listeners an overview of the virtual programming, and now we'll get into brief detail, but not full detail, because we don't want this. What people will hear. So it's funny. It's this weird science fiction thing with podcasting. People listening to the podcast, and most people watching the video are going to see this March 20th, right? So that means, from the time we're recording this for you on March 9th, it is this coming Saturday. People will hear a 2-hour and 10-minute episode with Renee, right? But all the listeners are going to listen to us right now. It's going to be last week. So for you, it's in the future. But for the listeners, it's last week, last episode. So, yeah.
Mind blow emoji.
Yes. We just kind of, the listeners.
Daniel, I have a Big Ten education. You got to dummy it down a little bit for me. You got to.
Yeah. So with that,
I'm like, so am I? Where am I? Am I in the future or the past right now?
yeah. Will, I don't know. I mean, it's, but we'll in the, yeah. I don't know.
I'd like to be way in the future, retired on a beach. How's that? Can we do that?
Yeah. Let's do that. I also want to be in the future in Kazan, Russia, January 22. So. Yeah, with that, on that note, you mentioned briefly in that overview of how anyone can participate, and the comment that I had off of what you said is that comment is the fact that anyone can participate in the virtual programming and in the virtual sports. I feel like it can be an introduction to new athletes who are not yet athletes. That it can be an introduction that, because as you know, I just came off of the board. So of that 23,000, I don't know the exact number, but I feel like I should know it, but
You're right.
yeah, over 23,000 athletes that were trying to grow that reach. So, is this an introduction to us to grow our reach to if we have potential new athletes to participate in the virtual sports, in the virtual programs, then could this be an introduction for them to participate in the full in-person sports that we offer, whether it's traditional or unified sports? Because kind of off of that, I know one of our United Airlines agents, who's one of the mentors that was there at our orientation, and her name's Angela Franklin, and she actually co-hosted a few of our Unified at Work episodes of this podcast, but she told me a couple weeks ago, like, we were passing each other in the lobby, because like she works at the gate, and mainly at the gates, and I work mainly in the lobby, and so we were passing each other, and she said, how can I participate in unified sports with you guys? Mm-hmm. And so kind of maybe use that as an offshoot of, can this be an introduction for us to grow not only our athletes, but our unified partners and our unified sports as well?
Absolutely. I think both can. Esports too. So I know this sounds kind of simple, but I kind of liken it to when you're walking through the grocery store and there's a person sitting there. They don't do it now because of COVID, but they will again. And you walk through and there's a person sitting there giving out free samples, you know, of the bread or the cracker or whatever. You have it for free, and you're like, I like that. Oh, why don't you go buy it? It's right over here. It's kind of like that, where the good thing with us is everything's free, right?
Everything's free. Yeah.
You don't charge anybody to compete. So yeah, they can go on virtual sports and do that and give it a try. And then two, they can go on the esports if they're a gamer and like, oh, this is interesting. So they can e-game, and they'll e-game with other athletes and peers. Like my son Cassidy, he's a 20-year-old, goes to DePaul University. Obviously, he's been a big part of Special Olympics for 12 to 15 years, and he e-games. And the athlete's like, wow, this is cool. I'm e-gaming with people who aren't even have an intellectual disability. How cool is that? And then I absolutely. And it's a great way for them to try it and get involved. And also, I think people don't realize, even if we didn't have virtual sports, they don't realize how accessible Special Olympics really is. I think the general public, I think a lot of people think, when they hear about Special Olympics, because you hear the question, when are the Special Olympics?
Yeah.
There's 11,000 competitions a year in the country, over 200 in Illinois, and there's going to be, I say to any parent who has a son or daughter with an intellectual disability, is an athlete, but isn't an athlete yet, I'm like, you know what? If you look at our schedule, there's going to be a competition within 5 to 10 miles of your house sometime this year. They're like, really? And I'm like, yes. So to that point, this even stretches it even more because it's online. I mean, talk about accessibility. You can do it right from your computer. So it really gives people that opportunity. It really opens their eyes to the fact that, Special Olympics isn't just like, some people think, well, for me to get to Special Olympics, I got to get to Kazan, Russia. How do I do that from my home? How do I get, it seems like a long journey. You're like, no, it's not a long journey to competition. There's a competition within 5 miles of your house, probably in the next 3 or 4 months. And start there.
And now with
or go on. I'm sorry, Daniel. Go online and do the virtual sports or the esports or the virtual learning or whatever.
Yeah, and now with the virtual program, and they don't even have to go 20 miles from the house. They can just stay at home and still participate.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was make a shameless plug for all three of those disciplines. Like I said, esports, you're a gamer, you're not an athlete, get on a game, have fun, do it, and meet some other athletes. And then that's your introduction to the Special Olympics. Oh, then you find out we have 18 other sports. You're like, well, I'm not really athletic. Okay, well, how about bocce? Or how about, one of our 18 sports? Oh, that's cool. I'll do that. And there's a bocce tournament coming up in the next 3 months when we're fully back.
Yeah.
We did have bocce skills in the fall, so people could have played bocce socially distanced. So there is that opportunity, for that, which I think is pretty cool. So yes, they can do that. And then you go down the line, virtual sports, like we talked about. Basketball is the sport of the month right now. That ends at the end of March, but then we've got track and field in April. Again, track and field in May, different disciplines. And then we got virtual summer games in June. You don't have to be a Special Olympics Illinois athlete or a Special Olympics athlete at all to participate. Try it out. And then the third thing, the virtual learning, which you see in there, like we said, that two Saturdays a month. I think it's 9 a.m. or 9:30. You can find out when you go in there. On Saturdays, you get a live workout. You can work out live in your living room or whatnot. So that's a lot of opportunity. The other thing that's really cool about it, Daniel, is, and I'm kind of flashing forward, but there's opportunity to do some other things. Like, this isn't fully baked, and it may not happen, but this will give you an idea. So let's say next March, you've got all these teams going to the state basketball in person. Those are the gold medal winners who had a chance to go. Obviously, not every gold medal team in the region goes, but gold medal winners go. And you're a team member on a team that didn't have a chance to go to state basketball. Well, guess what? Guess what the virtual sport of the month is? It's basketball. And so we can do hey, you didn't have a chance to go to state basketball this weekend in person, but why don't you be a part of the celebration? We're going to do this virtually, that virtually. We're going to do the dance, which you can be a part of. So we're going to add in virtual opportunities, like with summer games. We've got soccer and bocce and gymnastics and track and field, and there might be an opportunity to, like with basketball, let's say. Yeah, we're going to do all these things, and guess what? Maybe on that Friday or Saturday night, we'll do an NBA 2K e-gaming. So, hey, sorry that you couldn't make it. We know you're disappointed. You really want to be there, but you can be a part of the state basketball championships weekend, which becomes more inclusionary. And then you can do that with summer games and, other things. So I definitely moving forward, when things fully open up, virtual programming will be maybe not as robust as it is now. I'm not saying it's not going to be lackluster either, but there's going to be opportunity for people to be a part of what we're doing all the time, especially when they can't advance to state championships or USA games or world games, but to be a part of that celebration on a virtual level to still keep them involved, which is pretty cool.
Awesome. So I'm glad that you covered some of what I was going to cover at the end, and kind of briefly so as you know, as an athlete leader, as an SSIGM, as the co-chair of our Athlete Leadership Council, I will always encourage people to participate in, well, okay, I wasn't say in person, but now with virtual, I'll say I will continue to always encourage people to not only myself, but to not only encourage myself, which you should do that, encourage yourself, but also encourage everybody else, like we're doing on this podcast. We'll encourage in not only our own SO Illinois community, but we'll encourage in the mainstream community who some of those listeners are not yet involved. And so we'll encourage them to participate in the virtual sports, in the virtual programming, by clicking on the link in the show notes below.
To that point, and I'm going to touch on this before I forget, you bring up a really good point, Daniel. When you go virtual, guess what happens? It opens up to the entire state.
Yeah.
In our case, state. It might be province or country or, any one of the 220 chapters around the world. It opens it up. Like right now we're doing virtual polar plunges. And at-home polar plunges where people send in their videos. It's amazing. It's been amazing. The amount of coverage we've gotten has been almost double we normally get. Because guess why? Somebody in the past who couldn't, somebody in, like, let's say East Central Illinois or West Central Illinois or down in Cairo, which is the tip of Illinois, they would have to drive 100 miles to go plunge. Or let's say in a competition, drive 50 to 100 miles to go compete or just practice. Guess what we just did? We just brought it right to them. So there isn't anybody anywhere. And that's one of our priorities as a state, and I'm sure it is for all states or countries or provinces, to make sure that they give access to what we're doing and outreach to anybody with an intellectual disability. We've got 23,100 athletes in the Special Olympics Illinois, but there's about 950,000 people, children and adults with intellectual disabilities in our state. There's another 925,000 people that aren't athletes. So doing this, they have access now.
Yeah.
And realistically, will all of them do it? Probably not. And not 100% of the people don't do everything, no matter what they are, no matter what category they live under. But could we reach 250,000 of them? Probably, hopefully. But you got some people, like when you get in Central and Southern Illinois, it gets more rural. It's an hour, probably hour to 2 hour ride just to go practice. Well, maybe they can do it now online and virtually to help them. And that's an evolution we probably still need to get to. And that's I don't want to get into the weeds on that because it's probably, we're not there yet. But right now they have access to doing anything virtually to work out, no matter any inch of the state, no matter where they live.
Well, and to what you said, it reminded me. So as one of our other athletes, she's on the Athlete Leadership Council leadership team with me. Kaylee, big polo plunger and big athlete, big in a
I got you.
This way, yeah. And so she's doing a lot of yoga and other virtual sports with other states. So I feel like we don't want to advertise people that go to other state or country programs to participate in their votes. We want to have them come participate in our virtual programming, but it's kind of the same thing, like, kind of go back and forth, like with different.
Totally. And we're going to
capitals.
Yeah. And the success to that is we actually interviewed an athlete by the name of Joel Hensley. He's in Champaign, Illinois, which is Central Illinois. And he's lost over 35 pounds since COVID started. He's been working out. He's been eating. He's a part of the virtual stuff. And that's going to post on our website. Actually, it should be up, pretty soon. Actually, it's up right now in this era, so I apologize. So it's up now. If you go to our homepage, you'll see it. It's a story on Joel Hensley, who, in his story, is why he chose to do this and what motivated him. And he's lost over 35 pounds. And guess what? He wasn't able to play basketball before because it hurt his knees so bad. Now he's playing basketball, and he's doing other things. So that's a real success story to, everything we talked about in the last, 45 minutes or an hour. And it really, that's the grassroots. That's the on the ground success of that.
Awesome. And it's great to hear these success stories, and hopefully when people will read those success stories, and maybe even on this podcast, maybe we can try to share some more of these success stories. And people will see, okay, if these athletes, all unified partners or coaches or family members, if these people are having success with the virtual program, then it's something that I can do too.
Absolutely. There's no question. That you can do that.
And with that, I know we'll come into a close here on this episode because we don't want this to be too long of an episode. But with that, and so as I said, I always advocate for people to participate in our virtual programming and virtual sports for all Chapter Hill in Illinois. But with that, if people go online and they could find other, if they find other either apps or other organizations or other outside of Special Olympics of these at-home virtual sports, virtual programming, what would you say if they find and they really like these other programming? What would you say, like, if they say, I really love this other organization or this other app or this other organization doing this virtual sports, not another Special Olympics chapter, but another app or another organization doing kind of similar virtual sports, similar virtual programming, what would you say for them to kind of steer them away and come to participate in all virtual sports and all virtual programming if they're really strong on saying, it's great what you guys are doing, but I would rather do what this other app or other organization is doing? Kind of what would you...
I would say, to be honest with you, Dan, I'm never going to discourage anybody to not go try to look at other things. I would say we have a lot of what you need right here. And through us, you can act through, again, through the virtual programming. And then again, if you do go to our, not to make it more confusing, but if you do go to our website and on the nav bar, you click off the field and hit healthy program, you can find the healthy and fit tips too, and get all those video workouts. And again, you have them, they're there. Yep. Up. So I would encourage that, we have it for you. But I don't discourage people to try other things. Like, I'm a big skier, and right now we're doing stuff for basketball, and I'm doing the stuff that we're showing on our website. But there are also different workouts that are important for your sport. Like basketball and baseball and football. It's not about, you should run a little bit outside, but it's not completely about running. If you think about those sports, they're sprinting sports. They're bursts. They call them bursts.
Yeah.
So it's like you burst for 5 seconds to run to first, or you burst for 5 seconds to go catch a ball. Or, like a football play is 5 seconds, and you're bursting. Your muscles are like, whoa, for 5 seconds. So that's not a jog. That's hardcore sprinting. So like my son, he worked out, for baseball. There was no long distance running. It was all like quick burst, because he was a pitcher, and when you're throwing a pitch, it's 3 seconds. It's boom, set, boom, boom, over and over. So to that end, that's why I say we have everything you need. Come to our website and look for it, and everyone's welcome. But sometimes you need specific work. You might want to Google, if you're a softball player or a soccer player, I advocate for going on and searching up, soccer workouts or softball workouts, or, to add to that. Because that certainly helps. Like I do jog, personally I do jog, but there's things I do at the gym for my knees and my legs for skiing, because we're going to go skiing. We're going to go skiing in Park City, and just running won't do it. I got to do something else to get ready for that. So we have everything you need. But I advocate, you might want to, get a little something here or there off an app that might be specific to your sport as well.
Well, and the same thing like for swimming and basketball for me, and you already mentioned basketball, so I guess I'll say with swimming, it's a lot of times it's these, yes, it's in a pool, and we might not be able to physically go to a pool yet, but still it's a lot of those short things. And I know back when we could practice, my coach would, and actually one of my longtime coaches just last year, he just retired from coaching, but he coached at the World Games in Dublin in 2003, I think. And so he always, and even our current coaches still have us do this, where we do what they call snakes, and that's where we'll swim like up one lane and then down the next lane and then up the next lane, and we'll go the entire like length, like all the lanes of the pool. So like we'll start in one end, and like our coaches make sure that there's like space in between each of us. Now a lot of times like we'll like pass and we'll like sometimes we'll pass each other. We'll like a lot of times to kind of have fun with it. Our coaches will kind of make it a game, and they'll say like, for example, like if they have, I don't always go first, but a lot of times if like, for example, if I go first or if another one of our, I don't want to like put each of us on levels, but like another top swimmer on our team, if one of us goes first, for everybody else behind, our coaches will say, if we pass me or pass this person, then we will make you go. We'll make you swim a second snake or a third. Right. And ever since we've been doing that, we do that at all our practices. But our coaches remind us it pays when we go down to the state summer games. It pays when we get to that. And I feel like we could, even though we can't do those, what we call snakes in the pool, maybe we can do through the virtual sports, we can use similar, these quick, kind of like what you're just talking about, but we can do these similar quick exercises or quick.
Yeah, I agree. Like, baseball and softball is coming up.
Yeah.
I like to run. I play old man baseball, so we're all like legends in our own mind. But I run just to lose weight, but I also do sprints because you're sprinting. And if you don't, your muscles react differently to sprinting. If you're just jogging 5 miles all the time, and then you go out and play a baseball game, you sprint, you're probably going to pull a muscle because it shocks your muscle. Your muscle's like, I'm used to just kind of a leisurely jog, and you just went into a full sprint.
Yeah.
And it can shock your muscles. Plus, barbell work, doing this or do these. I mean, anything that works your shoulders, I mean, that's specific to softball and baseball. So, I mean, I don't want to get too in the weeds on different workouts, but to that end, it's important to do that stuff. So.
Awesome. So with that, we're going to come to a close very shortly, but maybe we'll give our listeners. You mentioned the monthly themes, but briefly give us a quick overview of the monthly themes for. By the time this airs, it'll be the end of March. But even at the end of the March, they can still participate in the last couple weeks this month. But brief overview of the monthly themes, and then briefly, and I know it's hard to be brief on this next part, but how the virtual programming still applies to our health programs, education programs, Unified Champions Schools, leadership programs, both athlete and unified leadership programs, and then sports we already kind of covered a lot over the past hour. But so brief overview on the upcoming monthly themes, and then how the virtual programming applies to our health, education, leadership programs.
Okay. Well, again, we're at the end of March, but you can still get on and still play basketball. You've got till the 31st to play, and you can do everything within the next 10 days. April is track and field, so that'll involve running, walking, and jumping. May is track and field again. That'll be running, walking, and throwing. So jumping like a long jump, throwing, softball throw, and whatnot. And then June is our summer games. So we've got virtual summer games. I think I don't get my week screwed up, but I think it's the week of June 22nd. 22nd is a Monday or Tuesday, but it's that week. We'll be doing that. July is tennis and August is golf. So again, if you go to that virtual programming that you talked about, but again, go there and you can click on virtual sports to find out more about that. And then also, if you go to when you get on there, again, to answer your next part, the athlete, the health, it's all health related, obviously. The virtual sports, and then click on virtual learning. That virtual sports is clearly all health. Virtual learning, there's an athlete lunch and learn, which gets in really, you could sit down with your other athletes, and there's interesting topics. And by being part of that, you're becoming a leader, whether you're a part of ALPS or not, Athlete Leadership Program. That kind of introduces you into that. And then we also have those weekend warrior workouts, the 1st and 3rd of Saturday. That's an actual workout that's live. So when you go to that virtual programming page, you can click on virtual sports, be a part of the sport, be healthy, or virtual learning to learn, to obviously learn more about, to work out, and then esports to commiserate and play unified with with your peers, with and without intellectual disabilities. So there's a lot of things you can do right now. And I got to reiterate one thing that's really people understand is we are back. All our counties around the state, we had 11 health regions, and you'd have to look at your own program, but in Illinois, we are back, and we can do non-contact skills events for 50 or less. So 2 weeks ago we did snowshoeing, and we've got basketball skills, and we've got skills going on for 50 people or less. They're in-person events in our return to play policies that are very, very obviously tied into the CDC and the Illinois Department of Public Health and under those guidelines. But we are in person too, not fully, but we do have that element as well. So
awesome. So you already covered the next part about if our virtual programming will be resuming when we're back to in person, whether it's this sort of in person or hopefully soon full in person. But with that coming back, briefly say, I guess, kind of how is it going to be on the same page that will, again, in the show notes that will point in people to the soill.org/virtual-programming, or is it going to be a little bit different?
Well, I can't be specific because that's more of the program services side, and I don't want to say things that they're working on, but I can go kind of high level, which will be a good answer for listeners and viewers. So as you would imagine, prior to 2 or 3 weeks ago, we weren't open. So from mid-November to mid-February, we weren't open. We were all virtual. And then we opened up. So now we're virtual with some, skills or non-contact. So like in the fall, we did flag football. We didn't play flag football. We did punt, pass, and kick. We didn't play soccer. We did soccer skills. So we're doing that again. So it's socially distanced, non-contact. And masks and temperatures are taken, and people are scheduled to come in. So not all the agencies will come in at once. They come in at specific times. So we have 50 people or less. That kind of speaks to that. So I guess where I'm going is, as we evolve more and more, that'll happen. We had to, unfortunately, cancel summer games as we know them, because it's such a large, it's 4,000 to 5,000 athletes and another 5,000 to 6,000 coaches, families, parents ascending on Bloomington Normal, and that's close to 10,000 people over 3 days, and that's just as much as we would like to look into a crystal ball and say we can pull that off in June, we can't. It's just that's what's realistic. And I know it's upsetting, but it's upsetting to us too because it's a majestic week. It's a celebration for athletes and families and us, for sure. But however, as everyone knows, you've got to start. There's criteria to be a part of summer games. You've got to compete in those sports, and you've got to train. So there's a 6 to 8 week prior process that would start in late April, with spring games and whatnot. So that's 4 weeks away, right? 4 to 6 weeks away. So that's not going to happen, but maybe knock on wood, hopefully if things keep opening up and people stay smart and don't like, hey, everything's kind of opening up, so let's just rip our masks off and go out. There's that criteria. People will get upset and they're like, well, we're closing back up. I'm like, I know, but like things are opening back up, and my wife and I and our sons, we're still in a closed mode where, we're wearing our masks and we're still staying as socially distanced as we did before and being smart. And if people continue to do that, we'll see this open up more and more and more. Maybe we'll see, first things first. And I can't speak to program services, but we'd certainly look at, the smaller, events opening up fully. Once the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, and the Illinois Department of Public Health deem that possible for anybody, whether it's, high school sports, college, in our state, and us. So we don't run rogue and do our own thing separate of everybody else. So
Awesome.
There's a lot of criteria that play into it. But as you saw before, a month or 6 weeks ago, we were all virtual. Now we've got a little bit of virtual and skills, and maybe eventually that'll move. That's obviously where we're going to go eventually, but I couldn't give you a timeline on when that'll be.
Awesome. And finally, how can we reach our older population of athletes, older than me? I'm older than the youth athletes that we have, like the young athletes that we have, but younger than the older, like 60 and above athletes that we have. 70. I think Dave or somebody said 90 might be one of our oldest athletes. But how do we continue to reach through the virtual program? On this whole episode, we're talking about virtual sports. So through the virtual programming, through the virtual sports, how can we reach this older population who I'm sure some of them might be tech savvy, some of them might know how to access on a computer or their phone or iPad or tablet, but some of them might not totally be that comfortable with the virtual things that we have all been doing for the past year now. But how can we reach our older population of athletes to participate in the virtual program in the virtual sports?
My head goes in two directions, Daniel. One is, funding. I mean, we see our population drop off after 22 because the state of Illinois funds, because a lot of our programming, is tied into the schools, right? So athletes are at the school and they're funded till they're 22 to go to that school. And once 22 is over, they can't go to the school. Therefore, they're not on that team. And that's their access point into Special Olympics Illinois through these schools. And then that funding goes away. And then they don't have that access point. So now they've got to be privately funded by, friends, family, a donation, whatever that might be, to get them to, participate in their local. Now it's a special rec association or a park district that's got to be paid for. So one. Two, I always make this point, whether it's you or me or a professional, LeBron James or, Derek Jeter, whoever.
Yeah.
Guess what? We get older and we just don't play that sport anymore. We talk about this and sometimes it's an aha. You don't think about it too much. You're like, you know what? Some athletes don't want to play basketball for the next 50 years. Some do. I played baseball, in high school and football, but I don't play football now and I play baseball again. But so having access to esports, like you mentioned, you said it, virtual sports, giving them access to other opportunity. Like they're like, I don't want to run track anymore. I'm 55 years old and I don't want to do that anymore. Okay, how about bocce? Bocce is a great recreational sport. As you know, whether it's Special Olympics athletes, non-Special Olympics athletes, those with and without intellectual disabilities, again, pro athletes. Guys who are in the Hall of Fame for their sport, they're not playing their sport anymore. They're playing golf or they're playing bocce or they're doing something more of or they hike or bike or they do something more they go from the hardcore sport into a recreation. It becomes more recreatory. So that's kind of where my head goes, and that you can do that through, you said it, virtual sports, esports, the workouts we have, people work out all the time, right? If you're an athlete and you've aged out, or you were an athlete and you want to get back in, our stuff is free to you. Go online and work out with us, and that's free. And then get back in. You didn't want to play basketball or track or something a little harder on the body. You did it for 20 years. Get it. I mean, you can only name a handful of pro athletes. There aren't a lot of Tom Brady's out there. Tom Brady's been playing 22 years in the NFL. That's unheard of. The average lifespan of an NFL player is like 3. By the time they're 25 years old, most NFL players aren't playing anymore. So, and that's the same with baseball and basketball or cricket or whatever it might be, soccer, or football around the world, international football. They go to something else. So, and you can do that here. You can play, you can play bocce. You can do other things that are less, wreak less havoc on your body, and it switches things up a little bit. So, that's what I would recommend. There's other opportunity. You don't have to continue to do what you did when you started it when you were 8. You might be 48 now or 28. And you're like, I don't want to do that anymore. I did it for 20 years. Find something else. In Illinois, we've got 18 other sports. I think there's 32 sports overall with Special Olympics International, and you got to go to your own program and see what they've got clearly. But, there's other things you can do. You don't have to continue to do the same sport.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure hopefully if a lot of our listeners, if you all in that older population or you know somebody that is, then share this podcast and point them to this segment. This all in 20-minute, like this time mark into the episode. Point them to this episode and share this with not only them, but I guess anybody. When you're done listening or watching this episode, share it. Post it on your Facebook or your Twitter or Instagram, or email it or text this podcast. Even if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or iHeartRadio or YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts, click the share button and share this. Just share the link to this. And
I would also employ anybody's family members to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And I use this example, Daniel. I coached Cassidy, who's now 20, but I probably coached 15 to 20 different basketball and baseball teams when he was little. And I'd get, a parent would come up to me and say, why doesn't my son play very much? And I would say to them, well, what do you do with your son?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, when we're not practicing, we're not playing, there's probably 3 or 4 days a week where we're not doing that. What are you doing with them?
Yeah. And
they'd be like, nothing. I'm like, I'm here to tell you that my son got better because not really as much as being with the team is important. But when you've got 15 people on a team, you've got 3 coaches, the time spent with each different player is not going to be as good as it is for me as a father to work with my son one-on-one in the park. And sometimes we have, parents who are upset because we have to cancel, and I am upset too. But I also want to say it doesn't stop you from doing something with your loved one either. You can go out, go for a walk, or, something simple. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to go climb Mount Everest. You can go for a 20-minute walk. And I encourage, it's funny how that doesn't happen enough, where loved ones, and I know some people were working really hard and some people literally don't have the time. And I'm empathetic to that. I get it. But some people do. And they're just not taking the time to help their loved one to get in shape. And, you always hear those stories about, I got in shape because this friend or my brother or my sister or my dad, pushed me. And, that happened with me where, when Cassidy was, it's right around 6th, 7th grade. It's weird. Like when we were kids, we'd just show up in April, play baseball till August, and then we were done. Where now they're working out all year round. And I would say to Cass, do you want to continue to play baseball? He'd say yes. And I'd say, well, that means I'm going to push you to work out. So that's part of it. Just understand. So when you get mad at me, they say we got to go work out. That's part of this. So when you're saying yes to that. And then he would get upset, clearly, because
Yeah.
But guess what? Now he's 20 and he just like, God, I'm so happy you did that.
Yeah.
Because now starting when about 15, he just works out on his own. He runs and lifts and does all that stuff. And I'm just, that point is you can't, yes, the agencies and the coaches that train the athletes are extremely important. They're training them how to play a game or a sport the right way. This is how you dribble basketball. This is how you shoot. You can't put your hand in the cookie jar. And I get all that. But there's got to be somebody else outside, whether it's a family member or a friend or whatever, pushing helping athletes to do more outside. And I think that's important.
Awesome.
Like you and Georgia, you guys bike ride.
Yeah.
That's great. And she's your friend and she's your girlfriend that does that. So
yeah. Awesome. So with that, we're gonna as we come to a close. And speaking of moving, I know this is something that you're not that familiar with, but speaking of moving and getting active, in addition to participating in the virtual sports, in the virtual programming, like to mention and I should have looked up the dates in front of me. I don't have the dates. If Taylor Faco is listening to this, you're gonna be like, you really should have had the dates in front of you, but it's all good. The Sona Move Challenge, it's the hashtag Sona Move, SONA Move. tinyurl.com/Sona Move is where they can go to get all the details on how to sign up and get involved. I believe it starts March 14th, I want to say. I think. I don't know why I have the date. I believe it's next week. Oh, I attended sales last week. Well, anyways, that week thing. Okay. So with that, it's last year. I don't know, of course, if you remember last year, it was a Sona Stride where we tracked all distance. And now this is Sona Move where we're tracking the time from Monday through Sunday. And that could be anything from walking. It could be anything from walking, running, or bike riding, or anything that you're moving and being active. So I know in our Illinois chapter we have a team, but I along with Renee and Hannah were on the Sona staff unified team called the Sona Movers and Changemakers is the name of our team.
It's a good name.
Yeah. So we all kind of in back and forth through email coming up with names, and that wasn't the name that I came up with, and apparently everybody loved it. So yeah, anyways. So
you're a marketer, Daniel. That's what you do.
I know. So I will try to remember to put a link in the show notes, tinyurl.com/Sona Move if you want to participate in the Sona Move Challenge. And when you do that, you can share on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. Use the hashtag Sona Move to join us and get motivated when you see that hashtag, right? Because that's what we do when we see those hashtags, right? We get motivated to hopefully want to get out there and move across our region. And so plugs on how to get involved. We'll put links onto the virtual programming of how you can get involved in virtual programming and virtual sports. But Chris, you want to share your Twitter or Facebook, how they can follow you?
Yes, go to @SOILL Chris on Twitter. And then you can, my Twitter account, I do everything Special Olympics, everything is Special Olympics information for those that for the community. My Facebook is more personal, so you can search me and be a part of that. I'm clean. I do a lot of things, but you can also go to our social team. Our social team of one does a great job. There you go, at Special Olympics Illinois on Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and LinkedIn. So and there you go, Twitter right there. We got about 57,000 followers on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're always pushing out some fun content too. So a lot of this workout stuff. So 10 a.m. Chicago time, Central time, you'll see that video, what we're doing, for the following week virtually. So you'll see that every 10 a.m. our time, Chicago time, on what the key highlights of the week are going to be. So
once again, that's @Illinois on Twitter, and then @Special Olympics Illinois on Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, LinkedIn.
Right.
And speaking of your Twitter, @SOILL Chris, I know when we were in Abu Dhabi at the World Games, I know my family, my parents and sisters and brother-in-law, I think my mom's on on Twitter, but she doesn't tweet a lot. She doesn't even post on it. She posts on Instagram once a year, and that's usually me posting on her account once a year. But anyway, with that, what I was trying to get at there is when you were posting those updates of what we were doing, kind of like my, I guess, personal public relations, my personal PR guy when we were traveling, they really appreciated those updates, because I know I didn't post a lot on my personal accounts. Like I would retweet your tweets, and so I know they really appreciated those, which I'm assuming you'll probably be doing that again when we're in.
I will, absolutely.
So you guys, so go follow Chris. If you want to follow me, at PodmanDan, at PodmanDan, at PodmanDan on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can search for my name on LinkedIn. So not PodmanDan, but just search my name, Daniel Smrokowski, on LinkedIn. Which, thanks to the training that Emily had for us, learned a little bit more about LinkedIn. So that was good to know. And if you want to follow this network, the Special Chronicles Podcast Network, and not only this podcast, but all the other podcasts and video shows that we currently have and will be added in the future, specialchronicles.com is where you right at the top, you see the links to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Vimeo, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Our newsletter pops up right there. And remember, in those just click on podcasts, and you can find all the different programs that we have. And remember to rate, review, follow if that's what you do with podcasts. Remember to also rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts, and specialchronicles.com. You can go there and find out all the other things. And I want to just briefly mention, if you have any feedback on this show, feedback@specialchronicles.com is where you can email. And remember to learn more about our partner, ComEd Energy Force, which, Chris, I don't know if you knew, but they're celebrating the 10-year anniversary of the program this year.
Yeah, they do an amazing job.
Yeah. specialchronicles.com/ComEd, which now it's virtual engagements instead of events that we have to do. But specialchronicles.com/ComEd, you can go there, and we've got a podcast series, the only ComEd Energy Force podcast series is there. There's a couple of videos you can watch. We also have links to the ComEd Energy Force page. And so if you're looking for tips to save energy, and what I say is ComEd is not only, yes, it's, as you know, Chicago based, but the tips can benefit any of our listeners. Just like ComEd is powering lives, they're powering the lives of listeners and our voices. And so go there and we will make a gift, specialchronicles.com/give, and you can join our supporters today. So thanks, Chris, for coming on this episode. This has been episode 417. Our guest has been Chris Winston, my SSIGM mentor and Chief Marketing Officer from Special Olympics Illinois. We've been talking about virtual sports. Thanks, Chris, for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Daniel. And I wanted to show if anybody noticed this was actually street pole banners that were in Chicago, all over Chicago. I got a miniature version. But
Awesome.
thanks for having me. I appreciate you, Daniel, very much.
Anytime. And just final thoughts. I know we were pretty much out of time, but as you know, I've listened to the Abu Dhabi Daily Show. I hope we have a better name in Kazan.
The Abu Dhabi Daily Show.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah. I always asked at the end, what does inclusion mean to you? And I'm sure I've probably asked this when you've been on the show in the past, but what does inclusion mean to you? And then kind of go into final thoughts on your overall time today on Special Chronicles.
Inclusion means to me, I grew up in a family that was, in the way I feel is very unconditional. I have parents that were very unconditional to all of us, and that's the way I am. I tend to be very accepting of all people. I'm one of those people that I'm not one of those people that you have to earn my trust. I'm one of those people that you've got it right away, and if you lose it, it's gone. Unfortunately, I'm very black and white that way, but I'm very inclusionary and unconditional of all people. I don't care. I don't see color. I don't see religion. I don't see sexual orientation. Disability. I don't see that. So I really, truly feel that to come down on somebody, to judge on somebody for something or who they are is really hypocritical. And I feel that way. I'm like, how can you come down on a person for that when you'll probably do something like that too? So that's part of it to me. So if you can feel that way, then it opens your thinking about all people. Like, how can I come down on a person? I'm a hypocrite if I come down on them for that, when I could end up doing the same thing, or, whatever it is, big or small. And so that's really kind of what it is. So it's, it's not only just people say, hey, I just want to be there, unify with all people. Like, to me, it's an attitude. It's, to live it, you've got to be truly open to all people and be unconditional. It doesn't mean you have to be naive and have somebody do something immoral, unethical, or illegal to you. You need to be aware of that. But short of that, I think you need to be accepting of all people. With regards to today, Daniel, I always appreciate the time we have. As you said, at 9 o'clock every once a week is when you and I get together and just have a cup of coffee and chit chat and catch up. And I'm glad we were able to do it here. I think it's upon all of us to stay. Virtual. We got to stop and go. Virtual programming isn't just about health. It's about everything that I think we'll see less of than we did in the last year, but we'll see. It'll be a big part of everything everyone's doing. And with regards to health, this sounds like a cliche, but how's a cliche become a cliche? Because it's true. You have to make time for it. People are like, well, how do you do it? I'm like, I always have a gym bag in my car, always. And when I leave work, I go to the gym. If I go home, I know that I'm not going to go work out. So I go straight to the gym. And some days I don't, but I still have the bag in my car. The hour or 2 hour to work out isn't just going to present itself to you. And then you're going to be at the end of the 2 hours, go, oh, that all just happened. Isn't that great? Like, no, it's not. You've got to make time for it. You've got to make those choices, and it's nothing else short of that. So, get your arms around that. You've got to make the choices of what to eat. Eat a handful of almonds versus a handful of Doritos. Eat a handful of grapes versus a handful of Bugles, or eat a salad instead of a double cheeseburger from McDonald's. That kind of stuff. So instead of that, like I do this all the time. I go to the McDonald's. I don't get the double quarter pounder with cheese. I get the grilled chicken sandwich. Yeah. Which is totally healthy. So anyway, those are just, you got to make choices, and the choices aren't going to make them for you. You got to make them for them. So you got to get to that realization.
Awesome. So hopefully all of you listening or watching this episode will go click the link in the show notes for this episode 417. Just click the link below to get to join us in the virtual programming votes. And next week, I also want to briefly mention we have an exciting guest, one that you know as well, Chris. We plunged with him in DC a couple of years ago, and two polo plunge seasons ago. Yeah, that's a thing, right?
2019. Yep.
Yeah, and so our Special Olympics chairman and the founder of Unite, Tim Shriver, will be returning on this podcast. If people listen, a few years ago we had Tim on in person in the lobby of in a hallway of a hotel, but this time it will be virtual because he has a new book coming out called The Call to Unite. So stay tuned. You guys do not want to miss that. That will be. We don't have a date yet, but I can tell you it will be by the end of March. By the time you guys are listening to this, we hope it will be the next week's episode. We hope. I would say
one more thing, Daniel. As far as what I said before, and I'm sorry to make this longer. With regards to everything people do, nothing will happen unless you make it happen. Don't sit around and wait for other people to hand you something, hand you the workout, hand you the medal, hand you the whatever. Go out and make it happen. If you have an idea, again, if you're moral, ethical, and legal, go for it. Go for it and give it a try. Nothing will happen unless you make it happen. And you really have to self-judge yourself and say, hey, that's a great idea. And well, if I don't do anything, it's not going to happen. So I really you got to kick yourself in the backside and make it happen. So that's the ultimate part about it. That's the attitude that you got to have.
Awesome. So we hope you guys all have enjoyed this episode. We hope this was not only informative, but hopefully it was entertaining. A little bit, I think, at least I hope we were entertaining and empowering and inspiring. Please go on to specialchronicles.com and remember to rate, review, subscribe, follow us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and wherever you listen to. Remember to rate and review and subscribe and follow on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcast. We will be back next week with another exciting new episode. So we'll see you again. And until then, remember, choose to include. Bye. Until next week, remember, choose to include.
Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
And I'm going to go ahead and hit stop.